Hey everybody, this is Dan for GemmyD on Cars. Now you are joining me in my basement from my new studio, if you will. I got a nice blank wall behind me. So in this video today, we're going to talk about the 6 generations of BMW M3 that have come out. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a ranking on their appearance, how they aesthetically look. With all the news that came out, and my last video was talking about the 2021 BMW M3 and M4. The reception has been, to put it lightly, not good. So I wanted to go through all the generations of M3 and talk about how I think which are the best looking ones. And we're just strictly appearance only. Nothing about power plants and which is the fastest or which has the nicest Nürburgring lap time. So we're gonna rank all of the M3 generations. So here we go. All right, now in 6th place, I think the least attractive looking M3 is the E46. This is from the late 90s to the early 2000s, and this generation of M3 is sort of like an afterthought. I mean, the generation that comes after it, which I will be talking about, obviously gets so much more praise and love and adoration. The E36 is really just an afterthought. And this is sort of before the M3 sort of became a luxury sports car. This was just, a faster version of, obviously the M3 is a faster version of the base 3 Series and all the 3 Series below. But the E36, it looks okay. There's nothing really special about it. I mean, this is back in the time when you had, square headlights went a whole way across the top. There was just 3 square air intakes in the bottom of the front bumper, and there's nothing too much special about it. Nothing really distinguishes it from other M3s. So I think just by default, the E36 is probably the worst looking of the M3s, and I don't think anybody would really argue with me on that one too bad. So number 6, E36. Now, number 5, the 5th best looking M3 is the current generation M3, the 2021 that was just released last week. This is called the G80. BMWs always are gone over with by their generation name, but the G80, this is the current generation M3 that's been out for, let's say a week right now. And the only reason, the main reason I'm going to do this is because of the giant kidney grills. I'm not used to seeing it. You're not used to seeing it as a car enthusiast if you're watching this video. Everything else looks good, but I think just the previous generations before it look better because I'm so used to seeing them. We've seen them for years and years and years. Number 1 on my list is absolutely going to be the number 1. But yeah, just maybe since it's so fresh in my mind, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. I'm going to reserve my final judgment until I see it in person, which I really hope I get a chance to see it in person. But yeah, this M3, I mean, the front bumper alone, obviously you have the huge kidney grills, but then the lower fascia of it is nothing special looking. I saw someone make a Photoshop that just took the current generation and just made the kidney smaller, and that was so good looking. I'll put that picture right here. It just made it, completely transformed it. And if they would have used this version for like the production car, this generation would be so much higher on my list. So yeah, I hate to say it, but the current M3 is way down the list on the best looking M3s, and mainly because of the kidney grills, which are so huge. So yeah, number 5 is the G80 M3. All right, now number 4 on the list of M3s is the previous generation, the one that this car just replaced. That is the F80 version. Now this, I mean, it looks good. The LEDs are very good looking, but the front air intakes sort of look aggressive. And this is the first generation where the headlights sort of rounded into the grille. But yeah, I mean, it looks okay. I think the rear of this car is pretty plain looking. I mean, the taillight design is sort of nothing too adventurous. I mean, I don't know. It's just not, it's really not that remarkable as a car. Now, this is the only generation of M3 that I have personally driven, and it was great to drive. I mean, 420 horsepower, twin turbo, inline 6. I mean, the performance was there, but just as far as looks go, I mean, it does have the wider hips, like an M3 should, but it's just nothing that remarkable. And I think just the other generations of M3 are just a little bit better looking. So that is the F80. I think this is around from 2015 to 2020. Just recently been replaced by the uglier F80. So yeah, number 4 is the F80 version of M3. Okay, in the bronze position, I think is the E92 M3, which is from the early 2000s up until maybe 2010, 2012. I don't know exactly, but I think this car has a couple things going for it. The hips are look wider. This is more design that was sort of long and sort of drawn out. You've got always had the 4 quad pipes, but yeah, I just think it's a little bit better looking than the coupe version of the previous one, the F80. I think this is an underrated as a car version of M3 because it had the naturally aspirated V8. Now it's straight 6, but we're not talking about power plants or anything. But I just think this looks a little bit better as far as a design standpoint. Now you still had the angel eyes, which the cars had for a while, but I just think by default this is a little bit better looking M3. Now if I was in the market for an M3, I would get this version, the E92, E93, I guess, over the previous generation, the F30, just because I think it's a little bit, better looking. You had the Lime Rock Park Edition, which was that orange special edition, which was awesome. Now I will say, I did not mention the previous generation, that M3 CS in that blue color was absolutely beautiful. That is a stunning color. But I think if it was me, I would pick the E92 over the previous one, the F30. So yep, that's number 3. Now, the number 2 and number 1, nobody will argue with me about. So here we go. Now, in the silver position, I don't think anybody has an argument with me. This is the very first generation of M3, the E30. This is the granddaddy of all M cars. Well, all M. Oh, Penny's getting into trouble. Anyway, this is the granddaddy of all M3s. Doug DeMuro just did a review of this car, and it just is timeless design. Now this is obviously from the late 80s to early 90s, where design was very much different. You had these small kidney grills and the wider part where the headlights connected to them. You can see the hips just got a little bit wider as you got into the rear of the car. Very simple looking, 2 tailpipes. You know, this is when they still had the rectangular shaped taillights. I just think it is a classic BMW beautiful design, and I think the E30 M3 might be one of the 10 best BMWs of all time. I mean, this is an analog car, you know, we're not talking about that, but just as far as looks go, it just took that non-M version of E30 3 Series and elevated it just to so much higher levels than it could ever be on its own. So yeah, the E30 M3 is a timeless beauty done by BMW. They don't make them like this anymore. And the only car that I think will be higher on the all-time list of BMWs is my number 1. So number 2, the second best looking M3 is definitely the E30 generation. Now, I don't think this is up for debate either. By far, the best looking M3 of all time is the E46 generation. I think this is starting at 2002 up to 2008 maybe. I don't know what the years is, but this is one of the most beautiful BMWs ever of all time. And I will say, let's say around 2002, BMW had 2 of their best looking designs ever. And if you know my channel and you saw my previous video or whatever of my desktop, I think the E39 BMW M5 is my favorite car of all time. I just think it is a classic, timeless beauty, and this car, the E46 generation M3, is right below it. Absolutely. The E46 M3 Csl in silver might be the best looking BMW of all time. It is just classic design, beautiful headlights. You know, this is where so many cars have come with aftermarket kits of the front bumper just because it was just so beautiful. It had the 2 fog lights and then the sort of sloping design to go along with the angel eye headlights that had this sort of little jaggedy line in the bottom of them. There goes Penny, she's leaving me. But yeah, the E46 will always be a legendary BMW forever. My dad has had an E46 generation 328 sedan for, let's say, 18 years now. So he loves that car so much. It is just so smooth to drive. If I would ever get my hands on an E46 M3, I would surely be a memorable day in my life as a car guy. Now I have a friend that has one and it's being worked on. I'll post a picture right here, but it is just stunningly beautiful. Really one of the most beautiful German cars of all time. So yeah, the E46, by far #1 best looking M3 of all time. So yeah, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think about my list. If you think something should be higher. So a little channel update. If you're watching this video, my next video I will post will be my drive of an Audi S7 that I did with my buddy Will. And this past Friday, I just got some time to spend some time with a C8 Corvette. I poked around, did a full video, just what I think of the car. And I did another video talking about 5 hidden features that you might not know about that car. So stay tuned for that. That was really a fun video. I got to start it up in the showroom. That thing is absolutely amazing. So yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, where you can see what I drive before it gets posted to YouTube. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.